So you sent it to me and I didn't watch the whole thing. I got to watch about half. Here's what I liked about it. I liked that they sat down and had a dialogue about it, right? And that is what is not present today at all, right? They did not agree on something and they sat down and they had a dialogue about it. Like they were invited. Coates was invited to sit down and he thanked him in the beginning, right? Like so they could have a conversation. And when you have a conversation with somebody who you don't agree with, sometimes we want to say it's about changing their mind, but really it's about being heard. We are allowed to disagree with one another. Like we all don't agree, right? I tell the couples I work with, y'all ain't always going to agree on stuff. That is okay, but it's really about being heard and
Yes.
having your viewpoint not even necessarily respected, but at least respectfully conveyed so that you
Yes.
can dialogue about it. That is what I call a process issue, right? The process is more important than changing somebody's mind. When you feel heard, you feel like you can collaborate more, right? That you are more together. That's missing from our government. What did our president say that, at Charlie Kirk's memorial that he doesn't, he doesn't wish his enemies well and wants to get his enemies. Yeah. And I just thought, well, so you're not, no surprise, modeling any kind of collaboration whatsoever, which continues this us versus them, which is why we are where we are for many reasons. Okay. Many reasons. But it's so discouraging and damaging. We can't talk to each other.
But I love what you're suggesting here is that, for the Trumps of the world, it's about power and control and being able to do what the hell you want with no kind of recourse or help being held accountable. Whereas again, we have two people who are friends, who self-described as being friends, who live in many of the same kind of spaces, probably have a lot of the same friends, and invited each other in a dialogue with not the goal of finding an agreement, but expressing themselves and sharing their thoughts, which is critical because unfortunately, that oftentimes doesn't happen. We're quick to criticize, which is not necessarily the problem, but it's now, and I really love what you're saying. It's acknowledging the dialogue and staying in relationship with one another
Correct.
despite the disagreement we may have.
Yeah. I think Jimmy Kimmel did something similar, right? In his opening dialogue after his show was temporarily removed, where he's sort of inviting dialogue. He's saying, I don't agree with all of these things. What happened is horrible, right? And so it is hard, it is getting harder and harder to listen to people you don't agree with. We make assumptions. I was just riding with my daughter. We were coming back from somewhere and she's like, oh, I can tell how that person voted because this is what's on their car. And I said, you really have to be careful about making an assumption about what type of person this is or how they voted. You don't know anything about them. They are just riding in the car ahead of us. And you wouldn't want it if people did the same thing to you. But that is so happening today. And this us versus them, and it's so damaging.
It is, and one of the things I think was interesting about their dialogue is there was a point, and I forget where it was in the conversation, where Ezra Klein kind of acknowledged he didn't know what else to do. He talked about meditation practices, and a lot of people kind of, kind of dinged him for that because, like, bro, you're going to meditate about this? Come on. But I think he was being honest about how he's trying to navigate this, and maybe he's maybe not as well equipped as far as how to navigate this situation. I think what Ta-Nehisi Coates kind of laid down was like, "Look, I'm not gonna talk to those people, and I'm okay with that. I don't have any, sense of somehow I'm conflicted about that, but I'll talk to
Yeah.
you. I'll talk to my
Yeah.
friend who I don't agree with, and we'll have
Yeah.
a nice little dialogue, and we'll have maybe a better understanding, and I see where you're coming from. I hope you see where I'm coming from, and maybe that'll add to both our lives." But that was, I mean, I really like how you bring that up because I think that's such a powerful part of this situation we're in today.
And on the other hand, now I'm not going to contradict myself, but oftentimes it's about feeling emotionally safe. So if I show up in an environment, I'm the only black person there, I'm on guard, right? And not always, but I always notice, right? And so you're looking at these two men and that, right? Who there? Who that? Who? There's one, right? And so it's about emotional safety, psychological safety. And so sometimes these conversations are not safe, right? Sometimes they're not safe. And so I am not recommending everyone go out there and talk to, somebody who completely disagrees with you, but I'm saying there is no space to do so. And that is what continues to keep repeating the cycle. I don't have the answer on how to fix it, but I know that as long as we are dehumanizing one another, making assumptions about one another and not talking to one another, things aren't going to get better.
Right.